Welcome to the Restricted Handling Daily Intel Brief. This is what's been going on in Iran and the Middle East in the past 24 hours. The headline this morning is Tehran's renewed effort to assert a strategic equation linking Hezbollah, Lebanon, and the Strait of Hormuz to U.S.-Iran negotiations. Iran is signaling clearly that Israeli actions against Hezbollah in Lebanon could provoke direct Iranian responses, raising the stakes for any potential peace deal. This is not just posturing. Iran is asserting that its regional influence, from Beirut to the Gulf, is non-negotiable in any settlement. President Trump continues to push both sides toward a diplomatic pause, attempting to manage the tightrope between restraining Israeli strikes and keeping Iran engaged at the negotiation table. While there are reports that the U.S. and Iran are discussing conditions for reopening the Strait of Hormuz and adjusting sanctions relief, the sequencing remains contentious. Tehran wants immediate economic benefits. Washington wants early Iranian compliance on nuclear limits. The negotiation remains precarious, with timing and optics just as important as substance. Israel is maneuvering within these parameters, seeking to demonstrate to Washington that its security interests, particularly the ongoing campaign against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, cannot be excluded from any broader deal. New evacuation orders were issued for the city of Tyre, now including the Christian quarter, citing alleged Hezbollah activity. Meanwhile, Lebanese President Joseph Aoun publicly warned that Lebanon is ready to negotiate a non-aggression pact, but will not engage directly with Netanyahu until hostilities cease, while strongly criticizing Iran's influence in Lebanon. Maritime and economic pressure continues to define the strategic landscape. Iran's restrictions in the Strait of Hormuz remain effective, with only a few LNG tankers, including the fifth Qatari-controlled vessel, transiting since the conflict began. U.S. forces continue to enforce their blockade, redirecting or disabling non-compliant ships. At the same time, the Houthis have entered the Red Sea equation, announcing a ban on Israeli-affiliated shipping and carrying out limited missile attacks. This adds a second choke point, intensifying the risk for energy and shipping markets and complicating global maritime traffic. Oil and financial markets are reacting to these dynamics. Brent crude recently fell near $93 per barrel, WTI around $89, as both Israel and Iran temporarily halted strikes. Gulf stock markets rebounded, with Saudi and Qatari indices rising, but fuel prices in the U.S. remain elevated, underscoring the fragility of global energy flows. Tehran appears to be calculating that prolonged market pressure, combined with U.S. domestic concerns over midterm elections, strengthens its negotiating position. The tactical military picture remains limited but strategically illustrative. Iranian missiles caused minor damage in Israel, and Israeli strikes targeted air defenses and petrochemical facilities linked to Iran's missile program. A U.S. Army Apache helicopter went down near the Strait of Hormuz, but the crew was safely rescued. These incidents underscore the hazards inherent in operating near critical maritime choke points and the risks of escalation, while also signaling both sides' resolve to maintain credible deterrence. Intelligence and internal politics are central to the unfolding situation. IRGC leadership continues to influence Tehran's posture, favoring aggressive deterrence and low thresholds for escalation. Iranian negotiators, including Parliamentary Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, frame diplomacy and military action as interconnected. They are confident in their ability to endure pressure, believing time favors Tehran against a U.S. administration sensitive to economic shocks and domestic political pressures. Meanwhile, domestic pressures in Israel remain intense. Netanyahu is under electoral pressure to act decisively against Hezbollah while also navigating Washington's push for restraint. Israeli strikes on Iran were designed to assert that Israel's security requirements cannot be sidelined, a subtle but important signal in the broader diplomatic picture. The combination of domestic politics, regional leverage, and U.S. influence creates a delicate balancing act that could tip the scale if mismanaged. Lebanon continues to bear the brunt of these strategic tensions. Recent strikes on Tyre and surrounding areas have caused casualties, and the humanitarian situation remains precarious. Hezbollah's continued presence complicates efforts to stabilize the region, while Lebanese officials emphasize negotiation over further conflict. This reinforces Lebanon's position as the central hinge in the US-Iran-Israel strategic equation. Finally, the West Bank adds another layer of international scrutiny. An inquiry reports that Israeli authorities have facilitated settler violence, while Hamas has committed serious abuses in Gaza, highlighting the ongoing civil and political complexities that overlay the Iran-Israel dynamic. These findings, while not changing the military balance, provide additional diplomatic and public pressure points for both Washington and Tel Aviv. So, to sum up, we have Tehran recalibrating its regional leverage, Washington trying to shepherd a fragile deal, Israel asserting its operational and political priorities, Lebanon caught in the middle, and two critical maritime choke points, Hormuz and the Red Sea, actively shaping strategic calculations. Tactical military events are happening, yes, but their significance is in how they illustrate leverage, deterrence, and risk perception, rather than changing the battlefield directly. Thanks for listening. If you value clear, consistent analysis, leaving a review or a comment helps others discover the show. We also publish a daily intel brief on Substack, restrictedhandling.substack.com, offering deeper coverage on Russia, China, Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK. Appreciate your time. Have a great day.